Greetings and salutations. This is Brett Siegel here, filling in for the great Gary Franchi on the Raw feed. I always broadcast to you live from my safe space down here in Northern Florida, where I'm free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, and patriarchy. We are obviously always we always must succumb to our social media overlords. Tonight there was a little bit of an issue with getting our notifications out, but we are so glad that you're here. We are streaming live to millions worldwide on YouTube, plus our Patriots on Rumble and X. And make sure you're following us on all platforms, because big tech censorship is real. If we work together, we can beat it. What makes the Raw feed different? We don't just preach to the choir. We bring you into the conversation. Your live chat reactions, your super chats, your Rumble rants, they're all a part of today's show. So fire them up right now, even before we dive into these explosive topics. Today is going to be a pretty incredible show. We'll be featuring your messages on screen for the world to see between the segments. Today, June 8th, 2025, marks a dark anniversary. On this date in 1983, about 1 year after I was born, astronaut Sally Ride became America's first woman in space aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. She broke barriers with excellence. Not quotas, not DEI, not equity, not inclusion, with excellence. She earned her spot through merit, not diversity checkboxes. And compare that to Biden's military today, where standards are lowered, where excellence is secondary, and woke ideology trumps the warrior ethos. Now, Sally Ride would be appalled at what's happening to American exceptionalism. Speaking of our military crisis, we've got shocking footage of Biden's broken Pentagon versus Trump's warrior force. Every branch missed recruitment goals under Biden. The Army fell short by 15,000 soldiers. They're taking overweight recruits and running TikTok ads promising therapy sessions for the mentally ill. Biden wanted a mentally ill armed forces. Meanwhile, Trump is demanding Iran's unconditional surrender as missiles fly towards Israel. Which military do you want defending America? Biden's social experiment or Trump's vicious, fierce killing machine? Then we're going to expose Jim Acosta's disgusting attack on President Trump. This is nothing new for Jim Acosta. This guy actually had a seat in the White House press room. We're gonna dive into that a little bit later. This CNN propagandist actually joked about Ivana Trump's burial site, saying immigrants always doing the jobs Americans don't want to do. This man is absolutely despicable. We're going to get more into that. We're going to see a couple of his absolutely disgraceful clips. Now, the White House called it disgraceful. We call it evil. Acosta compares Trump's military parade to Kim Jong-un while praising violent mobs as real American strength. Okay, this is your mainstream media, folks. Now, make sure to share this stream right now via text message. We want to bypass our social media overlord algorithms, and the best way to do that is to send this, copy this message, send it through text. Our ex-viewers, you can repost this to your followers. We need maximum reach because they don't want you hearing these truths. They don't want you hearing this commentary. It undermines everything that they're all about. Now, Los Angeles is burning, and we've got the footage that they don't want you to see. Rioters throwing rocks at cops' heads, looting Apple stores, launching fireworks at police helicopters, officers hospitalized with concussions. Now, Trump deploys the National Guard while Mayor Karen Bass coddles terrorists. When law and order collapses, only one man has the backbone to restore it. We're also going to dissect Tim Walz's dangerous dog whistle to Democrats, bully the S out of Trump. After political assassinations in Minnesota, this governor is pouring gasoline on the fire. This guy is a complete disgrace. I mean, seriously, what a putz. When Democrats say, get meaner, their base hears, get violent. We're going to show you exactly how this rhetoric turns into dead bodies. Now, if you want to support the show privately, hit those donation links in the description. Every dollar helps us fight the information war. And breaking tonight, Iran's nuclear showdown reaches critical mass. Trump's doomsday plane circles Virginia as Iran launches new missile waves at Israel. This is some wild stuff. You're definitely going to want to stick around for that. And the president's message to the Ayatollahs, F-A-F-O. F-A-F-O. When asked about strike plans, Trump smirked. The nuclear clock is ticking, and only Trump stands between Iran and the bomb, the big bomb, the nuclear bomb. Now, if you want to show off your support, check out our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. The link is below. Wear your patriotism proudly. And don't forget, you can join our YouTube channel memberships for exclusive perks, special acknowledgement in the chat, behind-the-scenes uploads, access to our members-only 24/7 Discord. We got a lot of extremely hardcore, awesome patriots on there. I was on there last night. Every level unlocks new benefits. You're going to want to check that out for sure. The battle for America's soul is happening right now. On one side, Trump's strength, military might, and law and order. On the other side, Biden's weakness, woke indoctrination, mob rule, DEI in our military. The choice couldn't be more clear. Now, get ready for the hard truths, explosive footage, and analysis you won't find anywhere else. This is the raw feed where we interact with you to expose what they don't want you to know. Now, let's dive into the chat and let's welcome everyone who is here. Let's see what's happening here. All right. Wonder if what's her face will come to the circus mat, get cactus mauled AG. That's sure you gospel. That's absolutely right. I've been watching the End of the World movies today. Jeremy Olson said, "Which movie are you watching? Drop it in the chat. I want to know. Is this are we talking about The Day After Tomorrow? Or are we talking about Armageddon? Which one are we talking about?" Mrs. Pothead Kenny says, "Hello, Wyatt. Good to see you." That's nice. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Hey, Brett from upstate New York. Great job this week from Cindy. I appreciate that so much. I truly do appreciate that. We've been sort of flying by the seat of our pants, and we're having a good time here. Robert Lockhart says, "Boyd, sup, man?" That's right. Listen, we have an extremely hardcore, awesome army, and we are excited to bring you the news today. And why don't we get back to it? Let's get to the news. Dave Fiorillo, my brother. You are my brother. You are the man. I appreciate you every step of the way. Okay. Okay. All right. We got our trivia question here. Let's cook it. Which Democrat politician said, "When they go low, we kick them," in 2018? A, Eric Holder. B, Maxine Waters. C, Nancy Pelosi. Or D, Chuck Schumer? When I saw this question, it could really be any of them. But I want you to drop your comment into the chat. Leave your answer in the comments, and we'll give you the answer at the end of the show. Okay. All right. Now, listen, they're calling it the greatest military crisis since Vietnam. Recruitment numbers that would make our enemies celebrate. The standards are so low, they're practically underground. But here's what they won't tell you. This isn't incompetence. It's sabotage. Deliberate, calculated destruction of American military might. While China builds super soldiers, we are building safe spaces. While Russia trains killers, we are training our troops in pronouns and diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Pentagon has become a social experiment, and the lab rats are your sons and your daughters. What you're about to see is going to shock you. 2 militaries, 2 visions, 1 choice. The evidence is devastating. The consequences are deadly. And the solution, it's exactly what the establishment fears the most. You're going to want to keep watching. All right, we got next news gold here. Here's the hard truth about protecting what you built. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half of its buying power. That means $100,000 savings becomes $50,000 by 2031. You'll see it at the pump. You'll see it at the grocery store. You'll see it when you buy your kids backpacks and groceries and school lunches everywhere. All right. But there's a proven way to protect your wealth: gold. And that's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to safeguard your savings with physical gold or silver. No pressure, no call centers, just honest guidance and transparent pricing. Now, qualified accounts get a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar. Visit nextnewsgold.com to learn more. Don't just protect your wealth, preserve its power. Now, America's military readiness hangs by a thread, and the numbers paint a catastrophic picture. Under Biden's woke Pentagon, every single branch missed recruitment targets in 2022. The Army's shortfall of 15,000 soldiers marked the worst failure since we abandoned the draft. Only 23% of young Americans even qualified to serve. The rest, they're too fat, they've got criminal record, or they're too dumb to defend this country. And the brass didn't fix the problem. They surrendered to it, lowered the test scores. They welcomed the overweight, expanded waivers for mental illness and for criminal records, created future soldier prep courses. The translation? Remedial training for recruits who can't do a simple push-up. Now, this isn't building warriors. This is building welfare recipients in uniform. Now, watch Biden bumble around while he intentionally tries to weaken the most powerful fighting force in humankind. Check out the clip.
Well, Sarah, it's the first presidential visit to Foggy Bottom in nearly a decade. And right at this moment, President Biden is outlining a strategy for the U.S. to re-engage with the world while also safeguarding competitiveness here at home. It's a sort of repackaging of America First priorities, but this time with allies, too. Here's President Biden just a few moments ago.
We will compete from a position of strength by building back better at home, working with our allies and partners, renewing our role in international institutions, and reclaiming our credibility and moral authority.
Biden says he's also instructed the defense secretary to launch a global posture review of the U.S.'s military footprint overseas to make sure that the military operations at end. President Biden says that the U.S. will be ending its support for the Saudi offensive in Yemen and also freezing the Trump administration's planned withdrawal of troops from Germany. Also, President Biden is signing a memorandum to protect the rights of LGBTQ communities worldwide, and we will see exactly what the text of that order says. There's certainly much more to come from the Biden administration on foreign policy, with what the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan today called foreign policy for the middle class. He has also said the first 100 days would include a rejoining of the Iran nuclear deal, a democracy summit to try to regain that moral authority for the U.S.
The LGBT. There it is. You know, this commander in chief, and I can't help but use scare quotes. This person that we called the commander in chief is more concerned with checking identity boxes than checking enemy advances. Now, that is not leadership. That is social engineering with your children's lives. You know, we don't want diversity in the military. In fact, we want absolute uniformity. We want the opposite of diversity. We want everyone wearing the same uniform, knowing how to do the same drills, doing the exact same thing, which is to be absolutely trained to go and break things and kill people, to destroy the enemy completely so that we don't have to fight more wars. That's the whole point. Every last man who meets the highest qualifications, each and every soldier, we want them trained to literally obliterate the enemy. Now, compare Biden's participation trophy military to Trump's approach. 4 years of Trump meant $130 billion in new defense spending. ISIS literally obliterated. 98% of their territory completely reclaimed. You know, the rules of engagement that let warriors fight instead of filing paperwork. The birth of the Space Force. Unbelievable. Forward-thinking defense for the future of the battlefield. Recruitments surged without bribing them, you know, because young Americans who wanted to join the military, they joined because they want to win wars. They don't want to win diversity awards or participation trophies. Now here's Trump at West Point delivering the message that Biden's Pentagon feared the most. The military exists for one purpose only. Take a look.
We're in a new age. This is the golden age. The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows, to transform foreign cultures, but to spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun. The military's job is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America, anywhere, anytime, and any place. But if the United States or its allies are ever threatened or attacked, the Army will obliterate our opponents with overwhelming strength and devastating force.
Look, I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, meaning Joe Biden, but the difference is so utterly stark between these two commanders in chief. And you can see the smile on the faces of these soldiers. It's a smile of veneration for a commander in chief who venerates and respects the lives of the soldiers that he commands. You know, when we say commander in chief, we're talking about the leader of the free world. We are talking about the leader of the army. And there's no amount of money that can buy that respect. Because when you have clarity of purpose, dominate any foe, annihilate any threat, not host drag shows or spread democracy at gunpoint. We're talking about pure, focused lethality. Look at the recruitment ads, and the contrast becomes absolutely undeniable. Trump's military advertised flags, tanks, metal, courage. Biden's? He had cartoons about healing trauma and discovering your authentic self and diversity and equity and inclusion. Trump recruits warriors. Biden recruited a bunch of mentally deranged therapy patients. The real world consequences. China doesn't care about your pronouns when they're trying to invade Taiwan. You know, you realize that's where all of our microchips come from. That would be a huge game changer. Russia won't respect your safe space when they're trying to test NATO. Iran isn't going to pause their nuclear program for your mental health day. Our enemies are trying to build killers, while Democrats want to build sensitivity trainers with security clearances. Unbelievable. Now, Trump understood something pretty fundamental. Military strength isn't about weapons and technology. It's about the culture. It's about the warrior culture, the warrior soldier, the willingness to close with, to destroy the enemy, the willingness to destroy the enemy, the mental toughness to endure hell and to keep fighting. And you can't download that from a TikTok video, and you can't teach that in a DEI seminar. I want you to watch Trump explain exactly what makes American soldiers different from everyone else and why that difference matters the most.
Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete. Because our soldiers never give up, never surrender, and never, ever quit. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win.
Fight, fight, fight. Win, win, win. I love that he uses the word obliterate, because it's such a descriptive word, and that is basically what makes sense. You know, we're not negotiating about your feelings. We're not trying to explore your identity. We want to fight, and we want to win. That is what militaries do. And that is what Trump demands from our military. And what I find to be insane is that you take 10,000 Biden soldiers and 10,000 Trump soldiers. Who are you betting on? The recruitment crisis isn't about benefits and bonuses. Young Americans stopped enlisting because they stopped believing in the mission itself. Nobody wanted to fight for Biden unless they have this weird therapy session, diversity training. That's not a military. Who wants to fight and die for diversity quotas? Who does? Nobody. Who wants to bleed for bureaucrats who are more concerned with critical race theory than the critical combat skills and the mission at hand. You're basically sending these kids in to die. Now, Biden inherited the most lethal military in human history, and he turned it into a laughingstock. Social services agencies with ammunition. It's a circus sideshow. And that's not what our kids signed up for. Standards didn't evolve under Biden, they evaporated. The few recruits that they did get, they arrived overweight, undereducated, and mentally fragile. Under Biden, boot camp started to look a little bit more like my son's daycare center. Drill sergeants have become guidance counselors. I can't help but think of Arlie Ermy. I didn't know they stacked stuff that high. You want our soldiers to be hardened warriors, okay? This is what we want. And China is sitting here watching this unfold with glee. They're not lowering standards, they're raising them. What we need is our soldiers who will show us their war face. Their soldiers are training for war while ours are training for DEI, pronoun usage, sensitivity training. Their generals are studying Sun Tzu, the art of war, while ours are studying white fragility. And when the bullets start flying, which military wins that fight? All right, Trump's military asked the right question. Can you fight? Biden is asking a dozen questions. Completely unimportant ones. What's your race? What's your gender identity? What are your preferred pronouns? Tell us about your trauma history. What are your feelings about colonialism and American imperialism? Tell us about that. What do we want to know what you think? Would you like a tie-dye shirt too? And by the time they finish the questionnaire, the enemy has already won. The solution isn't complicated. Restore standards. Reward excellence. Every single soldier met with the same exact standards. Focus on lethality, for crying out loud. Make military service about your country, not about yourself. Make it hard again. Make it challenging again. Make it meaningful again. Maybe make it about winning wars. Listen, I don't think any soldier going to war needs to win a participation trophy. I think what they need to do is win the war. And that's what Trump is delivering. That's what Hegseth is delivering. I know he gets a lot of flack, but this is what he's delivering. Biden destroyed it. Trump is bringing it back. And that's what America has to choose. A military built to fight or a military built to feel. Let's hold hands and sing together. Kumbaya. Anyway, listen, our enemies know which one they would rather face. Do you think our enemies want to face Biden, or do you think they want to face Trump? You tell me. If you got any value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is coming up next. See, this isn't just about recruitment numbers or military budgets. This is about survival. When our enemies see what Biden did with our military, that he broke it, overweight recruits, lower standards, different standards for women and men, DEI seminars replacing combat training, they see opportunity. They're chomping at the bit. Their mouths are watering. They're chomping their lips right now. They see weakness. They see the strongest, most powerful country in the history of humanity dropping heat with their pants at their ankles. This is their chance. They're trying to catch us with our pants down. And every American needs to understand militaries don't exist to be inclusive. They exist to kill people and break things so effectively that no one dares to even threaten us, not even on Twitter or social media or anything like that. And Trump understands this. Biden buried it under rainbow flags and therapy sessions, but here's the brutal truth. When China moves in on Taiwan or when Russia pushes into NATO territory, they're not going to care about diversity metrics. They're going to care about one thing. Can we fight? And right now, the answer is increasingly yes. After Trump got elected, I did a little bit of research on this, and the difference between recruitment rates under Biden and under Trump, they're pretty much negligible. But which warriors do you want fighting? The ones who enlisted under Biden, who need sensitivity training, or do you want the hardened warriors who enlisted under Trump? That's my question for the day. Would you rather your kid serve under Trump's lethal military or Biden's social experiment? Comment yes or no in the chat. Drop us your answer below. Show us your support. Check out our merch shop linked in the description. Now let's see what we've got to say in the chat room. I want to know about this. What do you guys think? Kibbs Ellis said, "We want the tough guys." Patty Year Out says, "We want the warriors." We got two ladies here. Two ladies here who want the warriors. Pothead Kenny said, they underestimated us before, but history does repeat itself. You are absolutely right. R. Boyd says, "I want scorpion eating badasses in my military." That's right. That is absolutely right. Absolutely right. Jeremy Olson. "Unfortunately, I was under Clinton, not actually under Clinton, but that would be weird." We've got a lot of funny guys in here. Let's see what's happening now. All right, let's see. Scorpions taste bad. You are absolutely right. All right, there's a moment when journalism dies, when the mask slips, when pure hatred reveals itself. That moment happened this week, broadcast to millions, and nobody in the mainstream media even flinched. A CNN anchor made a joke so vile, so disgusting about a dead woman's grave that even hardened political operatives had to gasp at it. But here's the thing. It wasn't a slip. It wasn't accidental. It was completely endemic of the left. It was the culmination of years of dehumanization, years of propaganda, years of teaching their audience that some people deserve no dignity whatsoever, even in death. What you're about to hear is going to shock you. Not because one man said it, but because an entire industry applauded it. The media isn't biased anymore. There's something far worse. Keep watching. Now, gold has always been the go-to safe haven during inflation and global uncertainty. And right now, prices are soaring to all-time highs. This is why smart investors are looking at Opawika Explorations Incorporated, trading on the U.S. market under the ticker OPWEF. Opawika is a gold exploration company operating in the legendary Abitibi Gold Belt and Quebec, one of the richest gold-producing regions in the world, responsible for over 190 million ounces of gold from more than 120 mines. Their flagship properties, Bazooka and Arrowhead, are surrounded by multi-billion-dollar players like Yamana Gold, and they've just kicked off a massive 20,000-meter drill program across these prime sites. Backing them, legendary gold investor Eric Sprott, who invested $1 million of his own money, clear validation from one of the most trusted names in the business. With a strong infrastructure, proximity to proven mines, and leadership from CEO Blake Morgan, a third-generation miner, Opawika is strategically positioned for discovery. Shares are currently trading at around 11 cents, But with exploration underway, the upside could be completely explosive. Visit opawika.com to see their latest presentation. That's opawika.com, OPAWICA.com. Jim Acosta crossed the line. He crossed the line that he never should have crossed. In a moment that exposed the soul of modern mainstream media, CNN's propagandist-in-chief decided Ivana Trump's grave was comedy material. His exact words will make your blood boil. Listen as Acosta mocks a dead woman buried at her ex-husband's golf course, turning her final resting place into a punchline about immigration. This is completely despicable.
I got a question, though. Where are the ICE raids at the Trump properties?
More,
yes. Can somebody call ICE on the Trump golf course in Virginia?
Yes,
you're telling me there's nobody in there that is undocumented or has some kind of squirreliness going on with their paperwork? Give me a break. Hey, how many immigrants has he married? He's got one buried at his golf course in New Jersey. Isn't she buried by the first hole or the second tee or something like that?
The first hole, yeah, it's the first hole.
Immigrants always doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Isn't that what it is?
Despicable. Disgusting. Look at these hens laughing with glee. This is what Democrats consider to be like some sort of hardcore mic drop. Alex Acosta. It's like, ho, 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 you just dropped the mic. Immigrants always doing the jobs Americans don't want to do. About a mother's grave. A woman who fled communist Czechoslovakia. This is your mainstream media. The White House immediately condemned it as disgraceful. But disgraceful really doesn't capture the depravity. Look at her. Look at their faces. Look at this lady laughing. I mean, it's sort of par for the course. I mean, kind of look at her. You know, I mean, we could go off on her looks or whatever, but we don't have to do that. Look at her laughing. That's you know, this is a man so consumed by hatred that he will desecrate the dead for a cheap laugh. We're talking cheap laugh. He thinks he's funny. This is a guy who actually had a press pass to the White House press room. This is a man who was actually able to sit here and ask the president questions. What a despicable human being. You know, and the panel, they laughed along like clapping seals. You know, not one person said too far. Neither of them said, hey, we're talking about a dead woman. You know, ostensibly, these are feminists who allegedly are supposed to care about the lives of women. Not one of them showed any basic human decency. All they did was laugh. But Acosta wasn't done. He's building a permission structure for violence, calling Trump a danger to this country. This is not his first rodeo. You know, he's praising the mobs who are opposing him. He's praising the mobs. Let's take a look.
The President of the United States is a danger to this country, full stop. And I think what we saw over the weekend with the No Kings protests is a mobilization, but to some extent, a recognition that that is the case. And I think you're starting to see some of this reflected in the polling. Even people in the Republican Party were afraid to show up at his birthday parade, the dictator Kim Jong-un birthday parade that he tried to have over the weekend, where you saw the video of the tank going by the empty stands and you heard the squeaking of the tracks of the tank, and it was sort of like, what is this? And so, you know, I think the other thing is, you know, folks have to have hope. You have to have hope that we're going to get through this. You know, if hundreds of thousands of millions of people had shown up and cheered on Trump as those tanks were rolling down Constitution Avenue, then maybe I'd be a little bit more worried today. But what I saw over the weekend was the millions upon millions of people who are opposed to what he's trying to do to American society, showing up in almost every town and community in this country. That was a very powerful thing.
I mean, he's wearing a suit, but this is absolutely low rent. This is totally low rent. Kim Jong-un's birthday parade. That's what Acosta calls honoring our military. You know, he mocks empty stands while ignoring millions who support Trump. This is classic propaganda and gaslighting. He's inverting reality, projecting weakness where strength exists. The contempt runs even deeper. Watch Acosta explain how protesters should behave, not peacefully, but strategically. One might even say Machiavellian. You know, he's coaching an insurrection. Let's take a look.
Well, and you make a good point about how the protesters behave out there and how they operate out there, because it seems to me that what Donald Trump has done in LA and what he's trying to do in other places is lay a trap. He's trying to set out a mousetrap. He puts the bait in the mousetrap to see if somebody will spring the mousetrap. And he wants an overheated response from protesters. And if you don't give it to him, then you deprive him of the oxygen that he needs on Fox and all these other places. It seems to me. I don't know. Maybe you might agree.
I think that is exactly right. And that has been my cry. Don't take the bait.
Like liberals have ever needed a reason to riot and to scream and cry and screech and scream about their points of view. I mean, the quietest they've been is, you know, when the handmaids were walking down the street in silence. I mean, what does it take to get a liberal to shut up? You know, the translation here is be smarter about your violence, hide your intentions, be more Machiavellian. That's a dark core trait. Okay. Make Trump look like the aggressor while you are the one who destroys the city. This isn't journalism. This is tactical advice for domestic terrorists. You know, the radical Muslims have a name for this. It's called taqiyya. You ever heard of it? Tell us what you know about taqiyya in the chat. The idea is that when you're among your enemies, you hide your intentions while you infiltrate them so that you can build strength, so that you can obliterate them. It's basically Muslim Machiavellianism. Now, Acosta reached a new low even for him. And during Trump's first term, I wasn't sure he could even reach a new low. I mean, he was bloviating in the White House press room for years. I'm not sure why they let him in. You know, he positions violent mobs as real American strength while calling Trump voters weak. Take a look.
And then on the other side of things, you have these massive, huge protests. I mean, from New York City to Missoula, Montana, where people just took to the streets and showed out in force. And it was really, to me, if you want to know about what America's strength is all about, I looked at the No Kings rallies that took place over the weekend, because what it showed was that America's democracy has not been defeated by this dictator wannabe. I mean, he can try to roll his tanks down Pennsylvania Avenue and flex his muscles and all of that stuff. And you know, Pete Hegseth can show up in a camouflage tie that he got at the Gap. But at the end of the day, the real American strength, the real American might that was on display over the weekend, I think was in those No Kings protests across the country. Because what it shows to me is that accountability is on its way. Accountability is coming. We may have to wait until 2026. We may see some glimmers of hope here and there in the gubernatorial races, congressional races that are coming up. But it showed to me that people are hopping mad. They're taking to the streets, and they're not going to take this shit lying down. They're just not going to do it. And, you know, I think what Trump did over the weekend just clearly backfired.
What a putz. Accountability is coming for you, Alex Acosta. This is from Jim Acosta, from the same man who spent 4 years lying about Russian collusion, bloviating in the White House press room, taking to the streets Take it to the streets no matter what. This is from the same network that called January 6th an insurrection. The hypocrisy isn't just stunning. This is classic narcissistic projection. Here's what's really happening. Acosta and his media allies have created a two-tiered system of political violence. When the right protests, it's terrorism. When the left riots, it's justice. When Trump holds a military parade, it's fascism. When the left attacks cops, throws bricks at our law enforcement officers, this is democracy in action. Unreal. I can't even. This is hard to. It's hard to watch, because they've moved beyond bias into active incitement. Every segment, every snide comment, every dehumanizing joke sends the same message to their audience. Trump supporters are simply not human. They don't deserve respect, dignity, safety, not even in death. Now think about the psychology here. You don't joke about someone's dead mother unless you have completely dehumanized them. You don't joke about it unless you see them as less than human. And that's where Acosta and the mainstream media live right now. It's a sadistic mental space where Trump and anyone connected to him, they exist outside of moral consideration. And we've been here before. This is how genocide begins. Not with camps, not with bullets, not with trains, but with dehumanizing jokes like this. The steady erosion of human dignity until violence becomes not just acceptable, but necessary. And Acosta knows this. This is what they think. They think that violence is necessary because they don't see us as human beings. CNN knows this, and they're counting on it. Remember when they fired anchors for minor ethical violations? Now they celebrate people who mock the graves related to our world leaders. Imagine if it were your mom, your father, someone you love who was resting peacefully in a grave. You remember when journalism meant afflicting the comfortable? Now it means afflicting the afflicted, kicking corpses for ratings. And the most revealing part here, his colleagues' reaction, not shock, not disgust, laughter, agreement, amplification. They egged him on. Tells you everything you need to know about the newsroom culture at places like CNN, CNBC, and MSNBC. This wasn't one bad actor going rogue. The only reason he has a voice in the first place is because he has been amplified over years. We're talking decades at this point. Now, Mayor Karen Bass joins Acosta to discuss immigration, and watch how they frame the conversation. Not about law, but about convenience. Take a look.
I mean, I don't think there's a big dispute around people who are major criminals. The big dispute is going to a bakery, going to, see women in the park who are taking care of other people's children, to see construction workers. We have a city to rebuild, or a neighborhood, a major neighborhood, the Pacific Palisades. How are we going to get it built if there's no immigrant labor? Because they say that about 40% of the construction industry is Latino. I think that's a total underestimation. Wow. I would suggest double that.
Well, and you mentioned the Homeland Security Secretary. I have to get your response to what took place late last week with Senator Alex Padilla. I thought that was absolutely horrible, the way he was treated. And you being the mayor of Los Angeles, I wonder if you had any information as to how that went down, what happened there. Just an awful thing to see for the whole country, the whole world to see.
Well, no, I did talk to the senator right afterwards, as soon as I learned about it. But I think what is not reported so much is the fact that the FBI escorted him in the building. And so
Right.
how could he have been some rogue individual if he's brought in the building and brought in the room by the FBI?
What a putz. Seriously, what a bunch of schmucks. They have so much contempt for Americans. Who's going to build it if not for illegal immigrant? Who's going to do it? Jobs that Americans don't want to do. This is it's just absolutely dark. Okay, listen, who's going to pick our cotton? Yeah, that's basically what they're saying. That is basically what they're saying. Who's going to pick our cotton? They need cheap labor from basically from slaves. And remember, the Democrats are the original slave owners. Acosta represents something darker than media bias. He's the embodiment of elite hatred for half of America. Like the people who they say don't want work, they sneer at us. He's a propagandist who would rather see the country burn than to see Trump succeed. And he's not alone. He's just the most honest about it. So you got to hand it to him for that, right? I mean, can you believe this guy had a press pass? Sickening. Gary, the great Gary Franchi, he is the one who needs a press pass so that he can go into our press room, into the White House, and get to the bottom of this. If you got any value from this report, please tap subscribe. My final thought is next. This matters because words create worlds. This is why we're careful when we speak to our children. When CNN's top anchor jokes about dead mothers and calls for street violence, this is not just revealing about his character. It's revealing about the entire agenda. Can you believe they let this guy on the air? It's amazing. It's incredible. The media isn't reporting on division. They are the ones creating it. They're not documenting hatred. They're spreading it. Every vile joke, every dehumanizing segment, every call for accountability, all it does is push us closer to the abyss. Now, Acosta showed us who they really are. They're propagandists, and they will dance. They will do the Macarena on your grave as long as it hurts Trump. They will do the electric slide on your grave as long as it hurts Trump. They wonder why nobody trusts the mainstream media anymore. And I can tell you something. This is why. They wonder why Trump calls them the enemy of the people. Watch that clip again. Watch the glee, the utter glee on these ladies' faces. Like, they don't support women. They're talking about the grave of a dead woman. They don't support women. When you mock the dead and praise the violent, you are not press. You're provocateurs. Now, here's my question. Should Acosta be fired for mocking Ivana Trump's grave? Yes or no? Sound off below. Give us all your comments in the chat. We really want to know about this. You already know what I think. He should never have had a job in the first place. But if you stand against media hatred, wear it proudly. Check out our merch shop, linked in the description. Now, let's see what we've got to say in the chat room. I love this part of the show. Let's see when we get to see what you guys have to say. Dave Fiorillo, the press say there's no bias, but didn't Acosta just prove their bias? Absolutely, Dave. You are always spot on. This is why we're great friends. You guys wanted to hear one of the funniest jokes ever? Overeducated up? Do we have to wait for that joke? Okay, yeah, I do. Bring it in the chat. We're going to get everybody. Patty Year Out says, yes, definitely. R. Boyd says, my new N3 shirt arrived today. I'm still waiting for mine. I'm wearing my lucky shirt today. Michael Jones says, always down for a good joke. Me too. I'm always down for a good joke. Always. Let's see. Duty to rebel. The force is with you. No, the force is with all of us. The force is with all of us. We are here bringing truth to power, and we are super grateful. We appreciate you all being here. Definitely send us a super chat so we can get Gary over to the NATO summit. I will be here next week. The joke is up. Is this okay to read on the air? All right, check out the joke. If you have a Spanish friend, tell them mucho. It will mean a lot to them. This army is great. I love this N3 army. It's awesome. Now, Los Angeles is still under siege. Not by a foreign army, not by natural disaster, by its own citizens, enabled by its own leaders, its governor, its mayors, cheered on by its own media. Now, what started as a protest became riots, but we all know that was the original intent, okay? When they say peaceful protest or mostly peaceful protest, what they mean is riots, degradation, devastation, destruction, the power of the sun waged on to one of the most beautiful cities and states in this country. What began as a riot then became warfare. Cops hospitalized with brain injuries, businesses looted and buried, helicopters targeted with lasers, freeways turning into killing fields. But here is the sickest part. The mayor calls these terrorists protesters. The media calls them activists. The district attorney apologizes while charging them. They are literally throwing rocks at officers' heads. And CNN, guys like Jim Acosta and all the flunkies at CNN, they want you to sympathize with the rock throwers. This isn't protest. This is a riot. This is insurrection. And only one man has the spine to stop it. Now, when cities burn and order collapses, smart Americans protect what matters most, their wealth and future. But that's why savvy investors turn to BioTrust's ageless multi-collagen during chaotic times. While rioters destroy businesses and property, values plummet. This powerful formula helps preserve what time and stress try to steal: your youth, your vitality, your confidence. 5 types of collagen from 4 premium sources, hydrolyzed for maximum absorption. No GMOs, no artificial ingredients, just pure rejuvenation. Because when society crumbles, your health becomes your greatest asset. Visit healthwithgary.com. That is healthwithgary.com for 51% off. Invest in yourself while others invest in destruction. Now, Los Angeles has descended into chaos, and the footage they don't want you to see tells the real story. Not the protests, not demonstrations, organized violence against law enforcement and civil society. Watch what your media calls peaceful protesters. Really, it's just terrorists hurling rocks at officers with the intent to kill them. Take a look.
Get down! Get down!
Oh! Oh, he got fucked. Oh! Fuck yeah! Oh my God, he got fucked. Oh, he's fucked. Gotcha, bitch!
degenerates. These aren't protesters. These are murderers in training. Each rock thrown at an officer's skull is an attempted homicide. But Mayor Bass, Acosta's butt buddy, calls them concerned citizens. The criminals grew bolder. This video shows the complete breakdown of respect for law enforcement that Bass cultivated with her anti-cop rhetoric. Compliments of our mainstream media. Take a look. Look at how emboldened they are. I mean, do you think any of them had like a father present in the home? Like any of these people? Do you think any of them did? If someone stuck a gun to my head and said, these people screaming and yelling in officers' faces, demeaning those who protect them, I would have to say no. This is what happens when leaders like Bass treat cops as enemies instead of heroes. The violence escalated systematically. Los Angeles DA Nathan Hochman details the organized nature of these attacks. This wasn't spontaneous anger, but coordinated terrorism. Take a look.
William Rubio is 23 years old. He has been charged with 2 felony counts of assault upon a police officer and 2 felony counts of using a destructive device to injure or destroy. Now let me describe the charges that have been alleged against Mr. Rubio. On the night of June 8th, there was a dumpster that was set on fire at 1st and Spring Street. Undercover officers observed Mr. Rubio allegedly throwing fireworks at the Los Angeles Fire Department and the Los Angeles Police Department personnel who responded to put the fire out. Mr. Rubio left the scene, but was spotted 30 minutes later, allegedly throwing fireworks at Los Angeles Police Department motor officers who were on a skirmish line. He was arrested, and when he was arrested, in his backpack, they found 20 individual fireworks.
Let's go back just real quick to the first segment, okay? We're talking about about 2 different kind of militants, okay? One, they're hardened warriors, and the other carry fireworks in their backpack, okay? Targeting firefighters to trying to save lives. This is domestic terrorism, period. But the thing is, they're just complete wusses. Like, do they truly think that bottle rockets are gonna save the day? Look, Mom, I'm saving the world. But watch how they minimize it. The looting began immediately. I mean, this is hilarious. I mean, it's funny how they like to scream about the foibles and the evil of capitalism, and then they run into Apple Store trying to under the auspices of being protesters, basically common thieves to cover up these basic crime. It's absolutely insane. The hypocrisy is absolutely crazy. Take a look at this riot. freedom fighters there. I mean, don't they realize that Apple has all of their devices on lock? I mean, whoever stole the device, they're going to find them. You know, like they could find them. Are they that stupid? Are they that uneducated? You know, hundreds of thousands in stolen merchandise, small businesses destroyed. And they have the temerity to walk into an Apple store, the place where they're literally just like, it's like, why don't you just grab an air tag? Just grab an air tag like a GPS, you know? Like these communities are being shattered. And the media is calling it like some sort of rebellion. Like, this is not a rebellion. This is a bunch of angry, narcissistic children having temper tantrums. This is not a rebellion. You know, but the attacks turned pretty deadly, okay? The DA revealed how terrorists targeting aircraft and they threw incendiaries at police vehicles on freeways. Like, people are getting, like, this is turning deadly. Take a look.
Antonio De La Rosa, age 44. He's been charged with one felony count of discharging a laser at an aircraft. On the night of June 12th, Mr. De La Rosa has been alleged to be in the area of a protest in San Pedro. He allegedly pointed a green laser at a Los Angeles Police Department helicopter several times. If convicted as charged, he faces up to 3 years in prison. Fourth defendant, Eddie Lee Baldwin, age 39. He's been charged with one felony count of second-degree commercial burglary. On the night of June 9th, Mr. Baldwin is accused of being among many dozens of people who forced their way into an Apple store in downtown Los Angeles to loot that store. He faces up to 6 years in prison.
Pointing lasers at police helicopters that can blind the pilot and crash the aircraft. That's how you're going to protest? This is attempted mass murder. And yet they're charged like it's some sort of act of vandalism, like, you know, petty theft. The freeway attacks represent new levels of depravity. Listen to prosecutors describe the calculated attempt to murder officers with fire. Take a look.
On the night of June 8th, Mr. Palermo is accused of throwing a large rock at a California Highway Patrol vehicle from an overpass on the 101 freeway. He also allegedly lit an object on fire and threw it at a CHP SUV that was parked on the freeway. That vehicle caught fire. In this case, what you will hear is an anonymous tip from Crime Stoppers is what helped law enforcement identify, locate, and arrest Mr. Palermo.
Throwing flaming objects at police vehicles from overpasses. SUV caught on fire. Officers could have been literally burned alive. This is reminiscent of radical Islamic terrorism who behead people on camera and burn people alive in cages. Anonymous tips caught him. Citizens doing the job that leadership won't even do. But here's where it gets truly ugly. Jim Acosta and Mayor Bass don't just excuse this violence. They literally strategize about it in the most Machiavellian, sadistic way. Let's watch.
Well, and you make a good point about how the protesters behave out there and how they operate out there, because it seems to me that what Donald Trump has done in LA and what he's trying to do in other places is lay a trap. He's trying to set out a mousetrap. He puts the bait in the mousetrap to see if somebody will spring the mousetrap. And he wants an overheated response from protesters. And if you don't give it to him, then you deprive him of the oxygen that he needs on Fox and all these other places. It seems to me. I don't know. Maybe you might agree.
I think that is exactly right. And that has been my cry. Don't take the bait.
All right, let's stop. We watched this clip before, and it's important that we watch it again because it's important for this particular clip. Because he's providing tactical support and advice to terrorists with New York, with Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. Of course, her name is Karen, a little bit on the nose, but whatever. Giving him the absolute go-ahead. We got leftist government and we got mainstream media working in cahoots to try to destroy this country from within, telling them how to more violently and more effectively avoid the consequences. This is liberalism. This is leftism. This is socialism. This is communism. Mayor Bass is playing the same game. After officers suffer concussions and hospitalizations, her own people, she pivots to attacking the officers. Watch this masterclass in victim blaming.
The one thing about Los Angeles, like many big cities, everything's on videotape. So you don't just rely on the body camera. There's multiple views. And we will do an after-action report, and each of those episodes will be reviewed. The other thing that needs to be reviewed, though, are the injuries to the officers, which is often not talked about. And so we know that a number of officers had to go to the hospital. There were reports of concussions and the behavior of the people who were protesting. Now, I believe very strongly that anybody that was involved in violence, anybody that was involved in vandalism, really do not care about immigrants, because they would understand that if they were really concerned about the rights of immigrants, they would not do things that would just invite more involvement from the federal government. How is that helping the cause of the people who are so fearful of their own government right now?
She can't even be bothered to give basic platitudes to her own law enforcement. She can't even be bothered with it. The behavior of the people who were protesting, not rioting, not attacking, not throwing bricks, not throwing Molotov cocktails. And then she immediately questions the officer's response while admitting that they were hospitalized. This is pure and utter narcissistic gaslighting. Federal prosecutor Andy McCarthy explains why Trump's National Guard deployment isn't just justified, it's constitutionally required when the local leaders abandon their duty. Let's take a look.
When the president is protecting federal responsibilities, federal facilities, or federal personnel, he's on very strong ground to do what needs to be done in order to carry out those missions.
When mayors and governors refuse to protect federal facilities and personnel, the president must act. That's his job. It's not authoritarianism. It's not dictatorship. It's not fascism. It is his constitutional duty. That is why we hired him. That is why we elected him. But the pattern is clear. Violent mobs attack police with rocks, fireworks, and lasers. Not exactly the most technological way to carry out a war, but listen, this is the path they chose. But we have officers hospitalized with brain injuries. We got businesses looted, cities burning. And the response from local leadership? Blame the cops, coddle the criminals, coach the terrorists on better terrorism tactics. What a putt. This isn't incompetence. This is complicity. Karen Bass, and it's a little on the nose. Her name is a little on the nose. She knows that these aren't protesters. Acosta knows they're not activists. They are violent criminals using a political cover to destroy American Western civilization from within. But in not acknowledging that would mean that Trump has been right about everything that he's trying to do, about employing this law and order. They would have to acknowledge that he's right. So they play semantic games. They try to gaslight us. They debate terminology while our cities burn, while our businesses burn. They discuss the root cause while helicopters dodge laser attacks designed to literally send airplanes and helicopters into the ground to kill people. But then again, leftists have never had a problem with murdering people en masse. The criminals understand this dynamic perfectly. They know Bass won't prosecute them seriously. They know the media are going to defend them. That's why they do it. That's why you don't see this happening all the time in Florida. Okay. As we stated last night, DeSantis made it explicitly clear, you step in front of my car, I can run you over. You step in front of my car and you try to mob my car while I'm trying to drive my son or daughter home from school or work, pedal to the metal, baby. See, in California and Los Angeles, they know they can throw rocks at cops' heads, and CNN will ask why did they get so... They're going to ask what made them so angry that they just had to do it. It's a permission structure for violence signed and sealed by leadership that values leftist ideology over the innocent lives of our bravest citizens, the people who go out there and enforce our laws. Now, Trump's National Guard deployment isn't overreach. You know what it is? It's overdue. When local leaders won't protect citizens, looking at you, Karen Bass, federal authority has to step in. That's what they are there for. When mayors side with mobs over merchants, presidents must restore order. That's why we elected him in the first place. When media coaches violence, instead of condemning it, someone has to stand for our civilization. Otherwise, it is going to crumble. Now, if you got value from this report, tap subscribed. My final thought is coming next. This is about choosing civilization or chaos. When rocks fly at police officers' skulls, leaving them with concussions, when lasers target aircraft, when mobs loot with impunity, that's not protest. That's terrorism. That's war against ordered society. Imagine what happens if all of that falls down. And Los Angeles has shown what it means when leaders not just surrender, but actively support the insurgents. Mayor Bass sides with thugs over cops, and the media is providing tactical advice to terrorists. Here's looking at you, Acosta. District attorneys apologize while charging attempted murderers. They create a blueprint for urban collapse, excuse violence, blame victims, and they repeat it until nothing remains but ashes. These people are so power hungry, they'll burn the entire place to the ground as long as they can rule the ashes. Trump's National Guard deployment isn't authoritarianism. It's the last line of defense when local leaders join the mob. Literally. Every American city watches Los Angeles and asks, are we next? Will our leaders protect us or protect those who want to destroy us? The answer determines whether America is going to remain a republic of laws or becomes a wasteland of mob rule, a third world. When we talk about our espresso machines, that's a first world problem. We talk about our iPhones and stuff. Those are first world problems. But if we see this through, this is going to go downhill pretty fast. Now, question. Should attacking police with rocks be charged as attempted murder? Yes or no? Show where you stand. Grab our merch linked below. All right, now let's see what you have to say in the chat room. Let's see. My favorite. We got some super chats. Excellent. Super chats. All right. So I never forget to hit the like button. Ryan keeps leaving it on the floor, and I trip over it on my way to the chat room. Jeremy Olson, we love you, man. Yes, I totally agree with you. Marta Smith, Jose Alberto Mariquin, and no more good time credit. Give them all the MAC and no paroles ever. Hell yes. We got a lot of hell yeses out there. Yes, it is absolutely attempted murder. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. That's you throw a brick at somebody's head, you're not just trying to ding them. You're not just gonna ding them. Okay, that is attempted murder. Let's see. We got a couple super chats from Warrior Princess. Thank you so much. We got $10 from our board. We got $5. It is time for FA. The time for FA is over. We are now in FO area. You are absolutely right. It is time for the find out portion of the show. And I totally agree with you. And to be honest, like, let us know real quick what you think about Karen Bass. What a disgrace. You know, I don't usually use this word for women, but what a putz. What a schmuck. Wasn't she in Africa while Los Angeles was burning to the ground, literally? She didn't do anything. She didn't do anything to help the city. All right, let's get moving. You know, words have consequences. Bodies, blood, graves. Yet a sitting governor just gave his party permission to bully the S out of a former president. Not debate, not defeat, bully. I thought aren't they against bullying? In a nation where political violence already claims lives, where assassins already have pulled the trigger, where blood already stained the baseball fields, you know, he chose that word carefully and deliberately, with full knowledge of what happens next. Because here's what they won't admit. This isn't rhetoric anymore. This is recruitment. This is a dog whistle so loud that even the deaf can hear it. And when the next unstable leftist loads a weapon, when the next mob forms, when the next assassination attempt comes, remember who gave them permission. Tim Walz. Now, when lawlessness becomes policy and your children witness the destruction of American values, you need truth on your side. That's why the Tuttle twins created Liberty First content for kids. Their monthly magazine teaches economics, liberty, and responsibility through comics, activities, and real-world lessons. While schools indoctrinate, Tuttle twins educate. Freedom is never more than one generation from extinction. This is why people are flocking here. Now, don't let your child fall victim to woke propaganda. Subscribe for just $56 per year. TuttleTwins.com/next. Teach them to think, not what to think. Because the battle for America's future starts in your child, in their mind, today. Melissa Hortman, sacrificed on the altar of leftist degeneracy, violently gunned down inside of her home. Her husband gunned down. Her dog, Gilbert, gunned down. Her children left orphans. We're going to watch some footage of some of her last moments. You can tell that she was scared. The look on her face is telling. She knew that by breaking ranks and voting with Republicans that she was in mortal danger. Look at her face. Check out this clip.
After last Monday's special session, Representative Melissa Hortman held a press conference outside House chambers to celebrate finishing the budget.
I think that there's a lot for Minnesotans to be pleased about.
Inside, Speaker Lisa Damuth prepared her own remarks for the media before making one last stop to say hello to Hortman.
I was going out to talk to all of you, and I turned back. I said, we did it. And she said words to the effect of, I like it so much better when we get along rather than when we fight, but we did it.
It was their last conversation.
The events and the tragedy, my heart is with the Hortman family and colleagues and friends.
In Hortman's final months, Dameth spent countless hours with the House DFL leader, negotiating the state budget under a 67-67 tie in the House.
We had more in common than the things that we disagreed on.
After Hortman directed the DFL to skip the first 3 weeks of the session,
if there's no power sharing agreement, we will not be here.
She reached a deal with Republicans that gave Dameth the title of Speaker, while Hortman led her caucus as Speaker Emerita.
I think it showed humility on her part. Although I am the Speaker, we co-led this chamber.
Needing bipartisan support on all bills to break the tie in the House, the two leaders met weekly, just as they had for the past 2 years, when the DFL had a majority in the House.
She cared about Minnesota, probably more than anyone that I've ever met, and wanted to do what she felt was best for Minnesota.
During budget negotiations, Dameth and Hortman held joint press conferences and used humor to deflect questions about how much they trusted each other.
That is a weird question. Good. We haven't done any trust falls lately.
No. How much do you think we trust each other and trust us?
Hortman kept her colleagues laughing throughout these tough and sometimes uncomfortable budget talks.
Maybe the word I should have used is colonoscopy. So just proctological exam.
Just one of many things Lisa Dameth will remember about her friend.
Her ability to lead people and to do the right thing, her transparency, and not even desire for personal gain, but just to do the right thing.
She seems like an absolutely fine woman. And, you know, whether you have a D in front of your name or an R in front of your name, what matters the most is that you have integrity. Unfortunately, most of the Democratic Party doesn't, you know, they're not going to follow suit. And especially right now at this point, they're not going to at this point, because they're going to know that even if they wanted to, they could lose their lives. They could, you know, the lives of their loved ones could be utterly lost just for simply voting yes on something or voting no on something, the right thing or the wrong thing, just for voting your conscience. You know, Governor Tim Walz crossed the Rubicon here. You know, at the South Carolina Democratic Convention this week, this weak man playing tough guy, you know, told Democrats that it's time to bully the S out of Trump. Not defeat, not outwork, bully. You know, is that advice you give to your children when they go to their first day of kindergarten? To bully other kids? You know, the word choice matters. What we say matters. Now watch this spineless politician pump his fists and give permission for political violence while pretending that it's just another passionate speech. Let's watch.
Called out on this because I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Oh, the governor's being mean and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. And again, I'll speak to my teacher colleagues in here. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the shit out of him back. You push back. You make sure they know it's not there.
What a putz. How about we ferociously put you in handcuffs, Mr. Tim Walz? Get meaner. I mean, get meaner. That's how you speak about America's enemies, like people who want to obliterate us from the map. That's not how you talk about your fellow citizen. This is from the governor whose state just witnessed a political assassination. The timing isn't coincidental. This is calculated. It's a dog whistle. That is a narcissistic tactic. Narcissistic abuse tactic, dog whistle, designed for maximum damage. The left masters plausible deniability. They say bully, but what they really mean is attack. They say fight, but really what they mean is kill. And then when violence erupts, they clutch their pearls and claim it was just a metaphor. We're just exercising our free speech. We've seen this playbook before. And look at their rhetoric escalate. This montage shows exactly how Democrats normalize violence through repetition and intensity. Let's take a look.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
They're really going to clutch their pearls right now. Hitler, dictator, threat to democracy, existential danger. When you convince somebody that someone is literally Hitler, what's the moral response? Assassination becomes virtuous. This isn't theoretical. Steve Scalise nearly died when a Bernie bro decided that Republicans were killing people with health care policy. Brett Kavanaugh had an armed assassin at his door over abortion. Wrap your head around that for a minute. Brett Kavanaugh was almost killed because he voted to not kill babies. Political violence follows political rhetoric as surely as thunder follows lightning. And this is straightforward psychology. Follow me here. First, here's this is how it happens. First, dehumanize the opposition. Trump is Hitler. His supporters are Nazis. Then, declare an existential threat. Democracy will die. People will suffer. And third, as we've seen, give permission. Get meaner. Bully them. Fight back. Stop them where they stand. Stop them at the gas station. Behead Donald Trump in effigy. And then act surprised when someone interprets that as literal permission. This is common leftist tactics. This is common socialist communist tactics. And Walz knows that. Every Democrat knows that. They've watched it unfold repeatedly. Yet here he stands, pumping his fists, calling for Democrats to bully their opponents after a political murder in his own state? That's not passion. That's pathology. Now let's decode the dog whistle for a second. When Democrats say law and order, Republicans hear racism. When Republicans say secure the border, the Democrats hear xenophobia. Really? Xenophobia? You're scared of foreigners? A phobia is an irrational fear. Are we scared of foreigners? I don't think we're scared. We just have to have rules. You lock the door at night. You lock the door at night. You close the window. You protect your kids. You have a nanny cam. Are we scared of our neighbors? No, we're not scared of our neighbors. We're just smart. But when a Democrat governor says, bully the S out of a president who has already survived 2 assassination attempts, what exactly are we supposed to hear? You know, the media plays along. You know, they're going to parse out every syllable that Trump utters on Truth Social, on X, looking for dog whistles that don't actually exist, looking for reasons to kill him. But then they ignore all the dog whistles on their own side. They demand that Republicans denounce rhetoric. And we have to outright say, we have to stand up and we say, why haven't you denounced what so-and-so said, or so-and-so said something? But Democrats are explicitly calling for violence. Get meaner, get fiercer, start bullying them. The double standard isn't just glaring, it's lethal. And these people have the gall to call us the instigators of this. You know, Trump says fight for your country, and the media screams about violence, you know? Generic, it could mean anything, right? But Walz, he's specific. He is. He literally said, bully them, get meaner. Targeted at one man who has already had a target on his back. This is not a metaphor. These are marching orders against our duly elected president. The permission structure is building daily. We've seen this from Acosta. You know, Trump is Hitler. You know, so violence against him isn't wrong, right? Because if Trump is really Hitler, right? I mean, who could argue with that, right? It's resistance. It's a protest. His supporters are fascist. So attacking them isn't assault. You know, remember Punch a Nazi? I'm old enough to remember Punch a Nazi. Remember that? Hashtag Punch a Nazi? Where it's literally okay. If someone is wearing a red hat, you can literally just go up to them and punch them because you're fighting fascism. You know, every institution that Democrats control broadcasts this message. The media, academia, entertainment, Hollywood, and now our elected officials, governors, mayors. You know, history shows where this leads. And it's not to some abstract endpoint, but to very, very real, visceral violence. The Weather Underground didn't spontaneously combust, okay? They were radicalized by rhetoric, by pamphlets that made that kind of violence by sending Molotov cocktails and explosives into buildings. They made that seem moral. I'm not sure how you get from that to like rushing into an Apple store and stealing like an Apple iPhone where they can track you. Like I don't know. The Red Army faction didn't emerge from nowhere. They emerged from words that made murder seem absolutely justified. And modern Democrats play the same game, just with updated rules, with a little bit more social justice, with a little bit more of a social justice stink on it. You know, they don't explicitly call for violence, even though they sort of do. You know, that would be a little too traceable. But it doesn't matter with our mainstream media. You can literally explicitly call for violence, and they're like the media will memory hole it in a couple days. And we're sitting here supposed to obsess about January 6th. That they won't forget about, even though the only person who died was a Trump supporter. You know, instead they create these conditions where violence becomes inevitable. They light matches while standing in gasoline and then act shocked when there's a conflagration. You know, Walz epitomizes this cowardice. He knows exactly what bully the S out of whoever means to one of his mentally deranged, unhinged supporters. You know, I think the people at the top tier of this, I think they know that their worldview lends itself to mentally unstable, narcissistic cluster B people who are just ready to go out there and hurt people, who take joy in it, like sadistic joy in it. And Walz is a Machiavellian. He knows how to make this thing happen. He knows that one step leads to the next. He knows exactly what get meaner, get fiercer, bully the S out of him. He knows what that means. He knows what it sounds like to somebody who's already on the edge. And he also knows that he can retreat behind plausible deniability. I meant politically. I meant be fiercer at the voting booth. No. That's what he'll try to say after the blood is dried and the mainstream media has memory holed these murders. You know, but the escalation continues from resistance to by any means necessary to bully the S out of them. Like each step carefully calculated to increase the pressure while maintaining deniability. Each phrase chosen to inspire action while avoiding accountability. Real leaders de-escalate. You think Trump wants people to die? I don't think so. Do you? Leave us a comment in the chat. I really don't think so. Does Trump want people to die, or is he trying to save lives or end lives? See, real leaders choose words that incite, that unite, rather than incite. Real leaders understand that that every nation is a tinderbox, and that what you say matters. You know, Walz is no leader. He's an arsonist with a gubernatorial seal. Now, Republicans who use heated language get investigated. They get impeached. They get imprisoned. And Democrats who explicitly call for bullying get applauded by our mainstream media. The system protects those who serve it while destroying those who challenge it. Political violence flows in one direction because the permission flows in one direction. But when violence comes, and it will come, I want you to remember this moment. Remember who is actually giving the permission to commit these crimes. Remember who said, get meaner, get fiercer, bully the stuff out of them. When the assassination attempts start happening, remember who brought it on. Remember who said bully when bullets have already flown. Remember who turned dog whistles into foghorns when the bodies start piling up. Now, if you got value from this report, please tap subscribe. Leave us a comment in the chat. My final thought is next. Now, this is how republics die. Not with armies, but with words. When governors give permission to bully political opponents, they're writing checks that lunatics cash in blood. And Walz knows this because he is a lunatic himself. Every Democrat leader knows this. They've watched this pattern. Rhetoric becomes rage. Rage becomes violence. Violence becomes normalized. We know this from Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. I actually read a great book called Rules for Defeating Radicals by my good friend Chris Adamo. It's absolutely incredible because this is a playbook that has been, they're using a playbook that was written. You ever heard of the Little Red Book? Go look it up. The Little Red Book. This is what Antifa and the radicals, they try to use to escalate violence and to make it seem, and it's right in there. Projection, it's right in there. Accuse them of what you're doing. Yet they keep escalating because they think they're immune from consequences. They're wrong. History judges harshly on those who incite mob violence for political gain. When the next attack comes, and mark my words, right now, it will. The blood won't just be on the attacker's hands. It'll be on the hands of every politician who said, get meaner. Get meaner. Stop them at the gas station. All the Pelosi's, the Maxine Waters, the Joe Bidens. Take them out by the back and beat them up. Beat them up. I'll punch them in the face by the gym. Obama? Yeah, he was pretty bad too. Every media pundit who called Trump Hitler. What's that C-list actress's name who held Trump's head in effigy? Griffin. Everyone who fantasized about his assassination by the almighty, by the sweet, beautiful, almighty hand of God. Trump survived the most, he survived a gunshot to the head for all the world to see, and he still had the strength to say, fight, fight, fight. Liberals are creating a permission structure for murder while maintaining this plausible deniability, but I don't give them that. I don't give them plausible deniability. I see where it's at. So here's my question. Should politicians who incite violence be held criminally liable when attacks occur? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat below, please. And I want you to stand against political violence by checking out our merch shop linked in the description. We've got tons of stuff, and we're going to get cooking. We got tons of stuff there. Check out the link below. Now let's look at the chat for a moment. Can we look at the chat? F-bomb, yes, says John Gardner. I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. What's happening? Duty to rebel. What's happening is at a biblical level, y'all. I completely agree with you. I mean, it seems like we are at some sort of impasse. Kathy Griffin, that's right. Brand 47. Who even likes Kathy Griffin? She's lame and always has been. She is a total C-lister. She's the female Andy Dick. Okay, we don't really like her. Listen, when you hold the president's head in effigy, that's not a call for violence. You got to be kidding me. Like, that to me is the most wild thing. Like, she should have been arrested for that. Jeremy Olson, grab your N3 gear here. Shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Yes, that's absolutely true. We definitely need your support, and you definitely need this gear. Mini Yo, his name is not Yes. That's right. Overeducated SP, great show tonight, Brett. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. It is actually Brett. Million Yo. Is it actually Brett? Actually, I am an AI bot brought to you compliments of Elon Musk. Just kidding. Okay. All right, let's get back to it. The doomsday plane circles Virginia. Missile alerts scream across Tel Aviv. Iran's nuclear clock hits tonight, and when reporters ask President Trump about the Supreme Leader's defiant refusal to surrender, he delivers two words that will echo throughout history, sort of like the British are coming. He says, "Good luck." That's not diplomacy. That's not negotiation. It's not another worthless deal written in disappearing ink from an auto pen. It's just cold, calculated certainty from a man who means what he says. Now, while Biden sent pallets of cash, Trump sends a different message. Your time has come to an end. The nuclear facilities Iran thought that were untouchable? No. The regime that survived 40 years of sanctions? Yeah. The leaders who mock American power? They're about to learn why Trump doesn't make threats. He makes promises, and he keeps them. Just keep watching. Now, let's be honest. Most guys think that their testosterone is being drained by aging, bad genetics, or maybe even a lack of exercise. But what if I told you that that's not the real reason? In fact, the real culprit is something that you're likely eating every single day. Now, here's the shocking part. It's something you've always been told is healthy. This one food has been scientifically shown to destroy testosterone levels, and most men have no idea. It's not junk food. It's not sugar. It's something a little bit more unexpected. And just eating it a few times a week is enough to tank your testosterone, kill your motivation, and leave you drained. But here's the good news. Cutting that one food could change everything. The team at Sculpt Nation created Test Boost Max, a formula with 8 powerful natural ingredients that help support and restore healthy testosterone production without injections, prescriptions, or synthetic hormones. They've helped thousands of guys build muscle, burn fat, reignite their energy, and get their drive back the natural way. And right now, you can watch their free video that explains everything. What this food is, why it's hurting you, and what you can do today to take back control of your body. Just go to sculptnation.com/NNN. That's sculptnation.com/NNN. Watch the video, get the facts, make the change. Test Boost Max is for men who still believe in strength, discipline, and taking charge of their health. No prescriptions, no BS, just real results. So Iran just learned what serious consequences actually means. After launching ballistic missiles at Israel, after decades of death to America chanting death to America, after racing towards nuclear weapons, they finally met our President Donald Trump. Trump doesn't negotiate with terrorists. He obliterates them. Breaking news erupted as Fox's Bret Baier reported the latest Iranian missile barrage and Trump's unprecedented response. Iran must unconditionally surrender or face direct U.S. military bodacity. Let's take a look.
Breaking tonight, Iran has just fired a new wave of missiles at Israel just in the past few minutes. This comes shortly after President Trump met with his national security team at the White House about the ongoing fighting. He is calling for Iran to, quote, unconditionally surrender. He's also warning the Islamic Republic's leader that his life could be in danger. There are indications the U.S. could take direct action in the conflict if the president so decides. We began, though, with Trey Yanks, live in Tel Aviv, where those explosions have just been heard. Good evening, Trey.
Yeah, Brett, good evening. Just a few moments ago, central Israel took in about 15 Iranian ballistic missiles, the majority of them intercepted overhead. Tonight, the Israeli Security Cabinet is meeting to determine the next steps in the war against Iran. The IDF today launching dozens of new airstrikes across Iranian territory, going after these missile launching positions. We know around 40% of those launchers, according to the military, have been taken out so far. Earlier today, I spoke with Major B, an Israeli fighter pilot who is on the front lines of this war. Take a listen. Can you talk about those dangers? Were there any efforts to shoot down Israeli jets? What does Iranian air defense look like?
So when you ask about attempts, I will say that it's pretty obvious that the Iranian regime doesn't like the Israeli fighter jets flying over their skies.
15 ballistic missiles intercepted over Tel Aviv. Israel pilots dodging Iranian air defenses. This isn't saber rattling anymore. This means war. You know, they had 60 days to come to an agreement, and on day 61, Trump began to make right on his promise. You know, his message is crystal clear: surrender, or your sand will turn into glass. The nuclear crisis reached critical mass. Iran stands weeks from weapons capabilities, and unlike Obama's appeasement and his pallets of cash, Trump is drawing red lines that he actually intends on maintaining. Senator Tim Sheehy explains why action cannot wait. Let's take a look.
What do you think he should do? Do you support strikes on Iran?
Well, it's not my world. It's our world. The truth is there are deep divides across the spectrum on both sides about what we do here. Let's speak very clear. The Democrats have been deeply divided over whether Israel has a right to exist as well. There have been Democrats calling for...
The Republicans are in power. So what are...
No, I'd argue, that they have almost half the Senate and half the House. So the Democrats have a lot of power right now. They have the power to do a lot of things. But back to the point is what do we do right now? And the truth is, Iran has been a pernicious adversary, a brutal, savage adversary of America and Israel and the Western world for 45 years. I mean, prior to 1980, Iran was a symbol of what the Middle East could be in this new era of oil wealth that was cascading across the region. Freedom, opportunity, innovation. When this regime, this brutal, murderous regime took over in 1980, which started, by the way, with taking hundreds of Americans hostage at our embassy, we've seen nothing but murder, attack, terrible, terrible oppression from this regime for 45 years. And nowhere is that more apparent than right now in Israel as they launch their entire fleet of ballistic missiles to wipe a nation off the map.
But why strike now? Well, first, do you support
Well, first of all, I didn't say we should strike.
Do you support strikes?
I support what Israel is doing 100%.
Listen to her trying to goad him. That's another narcissistic abuse tactic, is just trying to goad someone into saying something that they don't mean. The Communist News Network never ceases to disgust me. Iran has been a pernicious adversary for 45 years, right? Not a negotiating partner. They're not a regional power. They're an adversary that must be stopped, period. No more games. Speaker Johnson reinforces Trump's crystal clear position. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, because you know what they would do if they got one? They would fire them at America and at Israel. Remember, I said yesterday, the Ayatollahs, they are coming for Saturday, and then they're coming for Sunday. They're coming for your Shabbat services, and then they're coming for your Sunday services. Israel, and then America. The little Satan, the great Satan. Check out this clip.
Iran was very close to nuclear capability, and President Trump has been crystal clear throughout his career in politics by saying that Iran can never have nuclear weapons. They would use it against Israel immediately, and they would use it against the U.S. if they could. So it had to be stopped, and I think most of the people in the world who think in common sense terms applaud that. The president wants peace in the region. He does not want to be a wartime president, but we have to protect our country, our citizens, and that's what this is about.
I respect that man very much, Speaker Johnson. He's got a very, very tough job, and I believe he's doing it with dignity and grace. You know, listen, he had to be stopped, not negotiated with, not contained, stopped. And that's the difference between Trump's clarity and Biden's just, but I hate to speak ill about the dead. You know, Trump is going to prevent a nuclear holocaust, and if we had Democrats in power, they would be the ones ushering in a nuclear holocaust. The American people understand the stakes. CNN's own polling shows the overwhelming bipartisan support for Trump's hardline stance. 79% of all Americans oppose Iran getting nukes. Take a look.
And overall, I feel like there's more support for Donald Trump's positions than is comically acknowledged. Oppose Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, look at this. 79% of adults agree on that. They agree with Donald Trump. Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. 83% of Republicans, 79% of independents, 79% of Democrats. When you get 79% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans agreeing on anything, you know that that position is the very clear majority in this country. And so the American public is with Donald Trump. They definitely oppose Iran getting nuclear.
This is an overwhelming majority. This is beyond any sort of margin of error. Okay, when 79% of Democrats agree with Donald Trump on anything, you know the position is unassailable, especially considering what they put him through over the last decade. You know, even liberals understand nuclear weapons in terrorist hands means the end of civilization. We've seen so many TV shows about this. Like, how can we not get this through our thick heads? The military preparations tell the real story. The presidential doomsday plane scrambled from Louisiana, circling over Virginia as strike options are finalized. Let's take a look at this. This is some incredible.
You might only have 5 minutes left to live. Let me explain. This is the Boeing Doomsday, a plane in the U.S. Air Force dedicated to safeguarding key figures, like the president, during a nuclear crisis. Engineered for rapid response, one of its engines operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ready for immediate takeoff in the event of a nuclear threat. This aircraft has advanced thermal and nuclear shielding, which keeps it protected against the impact of a nuclear blast. Once airborne, the Boeing Doomsday can fly nonstop for an entire week, thanks to its aerial refueling capabilities. Loaded with countermeasures like chaff and flares, it's designed to stop missile attacks, making it hard to destroy in the skies. Only elite and highly experienced fighter pilots are allowed to operate this aircraft. But that's not all. On top of its defensive capabilities, the Boeing Doomsday is a mobile command center. It has advanced radar and surveillance technology, enabling real-time monitoring of potential threats. Inside, you'll find some of the highest levels of tech in the world.
This is something that you only see in like Mission Impossible movies. This is the height of American ingenuity and technology. Let's take a look at the flight path. Okay, so we're going from Dallas down to Houston, across the Gulf of America, across Florida. Personally, I'm not even sure this is the right flight path. Personally, I don't really want to know the actual flight path. What I want is for our I don't want to know everything. This is why we elected them, to protect us from ourselves in some way. You know, this isn't routine. You know, this is massive. This is an incredible development here. You're only getting this here on N3. You know, this is when you launch that airplane into the sky. This is preparation for something massive. The E-4B only flies when Nuclear Command Authority needs airborne protection. Translation: Trump is not bluffing. This thing is in the air right now. When reporters pressed Trump about Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah, refusing to surrender, his response sent chills through Tehran and I would say hope through the free world. We're not going down with it. We're not going down like this. Take a look.
What do you say to the supreme leader of Iran who says that they will not surrender?
Say good luck.
And what is the end game?
Say it?
I know the location's run out.
It's already run out. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
You just take out.
Yeah, they had 60 days and a big, 60 days, plenty of time. And they made a mistake. Honestly, they made a mistake. Their country's in ruins. So many people are dead that shouldn't be dead.
I love how coy he is. Good luck. They made a mistake. We all know what that means. That means that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. He died like a dog. Like a dog. That means something's happening, okay? When the most powerful man on earth wishes you luck in defying him, you better make sure you have like a casket ready to slip into when your body becomes, complete mush. Okay. And the supreme leader knows what's coming. And at this point, he's the only one sitting at that table, thanks to Israel. Trump expanded on the stakes, explaining why 40 years of Iranian threats end right now. Nuclear weapons in terrorists' hands threaten not just targets, but the sanctity of our entire civilization, the first world itself, the Western world itself. Take a look.
No, they had bad intentions. For 40 years they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, death to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies. And now they're not bullies anymore, but we'll see what happens. Look, nothing's finished until it's finished. War is very complex. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of turns are made. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that we won anything yet. I would say that we sure as hell made a lot of progress, and we'll see. The next week is going to be very big, maybe less than a week, maybe less. But is there anybody here that said it would be okay to have a hostile, very, zealots really, but to have a hostile country have a nuclear weapon that could destroy 25 miles, but much more than that, could destroy other nations just by the breeze blowing the dust? That dust blows to other nations and they get decimated. This is just not a threat you can have. And we've been threatened by Iran for many years. If you go back and look at my history, if you go back 15 years, I was saying we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I mean it more now than I ever meant.
I just can't get over how, coy he is sometimes. Maybe a week. Maybe less than a week. Death to America for 40 years. Listen, like I said last night, when you are being attacked by a circus of deranged clowns, you go for the jugular. Okay? Trump remembers. He doesn't forgive. He doesn't forget. And unlike his predecessors, Trump doesn't pretend that diplomacy works with satanic demons who are literally trying to obliterate countries off the face of the map. He wants peace. He wants people to live. The art of strategic ambiguity, like I said, he's very coy sometimes. I like it. But it reaches new heights as Trump toys with reporters, demanding specifics about strike plans. What's he going to do? He's going to give them specific military plans. Take a look at this clip.
About whether you are moving closer, or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that. And they got hit. Remember 60 days? And then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit, that was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night. Yes.
Is it too late, though? Do you think it's too late to now?
Really, nothing's too late. The only thing too late is Powell. Powell's too late. Too late, Powell.
Have the Iranians...
God bless Donald Trump. Would you please inform us so that we can watch? You know, like his coyness, his sarcasm, it's cutting deep. I mean, listen, this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing. People are going to die. And just like in Gaza, we have to understand who the real culprits are, you know? Like it's the people who are the ones threatening death to America, you know? Real leaders aren't going to like telegraph their military moves so that the enemy can get prepared so that they can stop us from executing our mission. You know, Iran is watching Trump's every word. He's not going to tell them what his game plan is. 60 days. That's what Trump gave them. 60 days. On day 61, it was too late. What were they going to do? They're going to test his patience? They chose poorly. Anyone ever seen Indiana Jones? And now comes the reckoning. They chose poorly. This is not another strongly worded letter. This is not another UN resolution, not another worthless summit, no more grandstanding. There's nothing happening here. This is action, okay? And the contrast with Biden couldn't be any starker, okay? Because now we have a military that that our enemies are pooping in their pants because they don't want to contend with it, which is kind of funny, you know. Look, the Ayatollahs think that Allah Akbar, they think that God is on their side. No, God is not on their side. And they're going to find that out pretty swiftly. You know, Biden negotiated from weakness. Trump dictates from strength, not like a dictatorship. You know, Biden enabled nuclear ambitions. Trump is ending them. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, Trump is going to save more lives than it will ultimately cost. And this is what deterrence looks like. It looks like a guy with a sack, okay? Not empty threats, but credible promises. Not diplomatic dancing, but decisive action. And Iran spent 40 years. I'm so surprised it took us this long to get to where we are. You know, when someone declares that they want to literally wipe you off the map, believe them. Just like these weird protesters standing in front of the cars. You don't know if they're going to drag you out of the car or not. You don't know if is that a bet you want? Do you want to make that bet? Iran bet wrong. They spent decades building nuclear facilities. They have the largest they have the largest supply of oil, like one of the largest supplies of oil in the entire world. They don't need oil for another 300 years. They don't need energy for another 300 years. Even with nuclear energy, they don't need it. They have all the oil that they need. They want to destroy the small Satan, the little Satan, and then the big Satan. They're coming for Israel, and then they're coming for America. And it's not going to take 40 years for us to win this war. Okay? They've been bloviating for 40 years. It's not going to take us that long to win this war. You know, Israel pilots report 40% of Iranian missile launchers already eliminated. That's just the appetizer, okay? The main course, we're going in with bunker busters that are so powerful that mountains cannot protect what is underneath. Years of construction vaporized, turned to glass in minutes. You know, Israel is really good at the preemptive strike. You know, they had the 6-day war. They really should have called it the 2-hour war, because they basically obliterated their enemy on 4 different sides, and the other 5 days were just spent cleaning up the mess, like clean up on aisle 4, thanks. You know, the nuclear facilities Iran thought were untouchable, Trump will be touching them. The regime that survived every sanction, Trump is going to end them. And the leaders who mock American power, they're not going to be mocking American power for much longer. But here's what Iran never understood. Trump doesn't play by the establishment's rules. He doesn't care about international consensus or diplomatic norms. He cares about the results, and this is how he's managed to stay in business for so long. The result is going to be simple. Iran without nuclear weapons or Iran without Iranians. That's their choice. Now, every rogue regime is watching at this moment. North Korea, China, Russia. And you can always drop some rubles in our tip jar if you guys want to. They're all studying Trump's response here because this is where the rubber meets the road. Because if he'll eliminate Iran's nuclear program, if he'll target their leadership directly, if he'll use American power without apology, then nowhere is safe for any tyrant anywhere on earth. 40 years of death to America ends with American power delivering death to the people saying death to America. That's just the way it has to be. It's either us or them, apparently. Remember, when they're coming at you saying that they're going to kill you, believe them. 40 years of weakness is being restored. And that is Trump's foreign policy. I don't believe he wants to kill anyone. But when push comes to shove, we win, they lose. Now, if you got any value from this report, please tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Now, this moment defines America's future. Either we stop Iran's nuclear ambition now, or we watch mushroom clouds rise over Tel Aviv and eventually American cities. There is no middle ground with nuclear terrorism. Trump understands that what Biden never could. You can't negotiate with a nation that chants death to America for 4 decades. You know what you do? You end them. While Obama sent billions of dollars, pallets of cash, and Biden begged for deals. I mean, if he was, but I hate to make fun of the dead. Trump sends bunker busters and keeps his promises. The doomsday plane circling overhead isn't theater. This is readiness. Let me tell you something. They don't just bust out that plane for no reason. When Trump says good luck, that's not diplomacy. That's a death sentence. And every American needs to grasp this truth. Preventing nuclear terrorism is not warmongering, it's survival for our people. When terrorists get nukes, civilization ends. We've seen this show on TV so many times. It's ridiculous that we're even commenting about it right now. Trump is drawing the line that previous presidents were too weak to enforce. History will record this as the moment where American strength returned. Now, I want to ask you a question. Should America strike Iran's nuclear facilities before it's too late? Yes or no? Drop your answer below and show that you stand with strength by visiting our merch shop, linked in the description below, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Now let's see what you have to say in the chat room. Okay, packing it now. Pothead Kenny, packing it now. Yes, yeppers. Okay, we love that. Absolutely, Todd. Oh my God, if he is, then he literally holds the gold medal for handling your S while turned overeducated SP. I feel like that was a brother joke. By the way, I don't know if you all knew this, but our trusty producer, Uncle Todd, is my little baby brother. We are totally related, and he's sitting right here in the room with me, making sure, and we got Brian over there, obviously, every single night, making sure that we go off without a hitch, except for the EMP that happened on Monday night with the absolutely fire commentary. Peter Parker, duty to rebel. That's right. I don't know why they don't call him Peter Parkour. Okay, now we're going to answer our trivia question. Which Democrat politician said when they go low, we kick them in 2018? Was it A, Eric Holder, B, Maxine Waters, C, Nancy Pelosi, or D, Chuck Schumer? I'm going to tell you something. I guessed every single one of them. I said, was it Maxine? No. It was Nancy Pelosi? No. It was Chuck Schumer? No. It was Eric Holder. I was absolutely wrong. Can we roll the audio of that? Is that possible? Do we have that available? Okay, we don't have that available, but it definitely was him, Eric Holder, the Fast and Furious man, who made sure that a lot of our weapons went to nefarious actors and characters across the world. That was one of the worst Democrat politicians that we've ever had. And I want to thank everybody here for joining us tonight. Now, this is a wrap for today's Raw feed. And folks, what a day to be alive in Trump's America. Week 21 of his return showed us exactly why the establishment feared his comeback. We exposed a Biden's broken military, a woke disaster where recruitment collapsed, standards evaporated with DEI and wokeness and participation trophies, drag shows replaced combat training. And while China builds super soldiers, we are building safe spaces under Biden's America. Not so much anymore. Trump's military crushed ISIS and projected strength. Biden couldn't even meet recruitment goals, okay? Trust me, think about this. Like, Biden's army against Trump's army, which side do you want to be on? The choice is clear: warriors or social workers in uniforms. We revealed Jim Acosta's soul, if he even has one. This CNN propagandist who actually had a press pass, mocked Ivana Trump's grave, joking that immigrants always do the jobs Americans don't want. What a putz. And when you mock the dead for making political points, you're not a journalist. You're just a ghoul. Acosta represents everything wrong with modern media: the hatred, the bias, the complete abandonment of basic human decency. We witnessed Los Angeles burning while leaders fiddled around with their diddles. Terrorists threw rocks at cops' heads, pointing lasers at aircrafts, looting businesses while Mayor Bass called them protesters. Derpy, derpy, derp. Jim Acosta coached them on Machiavellian tactics. The DA apologized while charging them. Trump sent the National Guard because when local leaders join the mob, federal authority must restore order. We heard Tim Walz give Democrats permission to get violent, bully the S out of them. It's not a metaphor. That is a dog whistle. Classic narcissistic abuse tactic. After political assassinations in his own state, this governor pumps his fist, calling for Democrats to get meaner. When violence comes, and it will, remember who lit the match. And we watched Trump handle Iran like the existential threat that they are. No pallets of cash, no worthless deals, just good luck. Because guess what? They're going to need it. The doomsday plane is already in the air. Strike options are prepared. 40 years of death to America meets American power ready to confront them. This is going to be an explosive couple weeks. You're definitely going to want to tune in every single day. And to everyone who sent super chats and Rumble rants, you are the backbone of independent media. Your support keeps truth flowing when big tech tries to silence us. To our YouTube members, our Discord community, our merchandise supporters, you are not just viewers, you are the warriors in this information war. Tell a friend about today's show. Make sure you text them the link. Don't share it on the social media. They're going to shadow ban you. Bypass the algorithms with human connections. Because if more Americans know what we revealed today, the establishment's grip will crumble tomorrow. Visit shop www.nextnewsnetwork.com and wear your support proudly. Every purchase funds more investigations, more truth, more trips to NATO, more episodes that expose what they desperately are trying to hide. This is bigger than one show. This is about saving our republic from those who would destroy it. Whether it's woke military madness, media hatred, urban anarchy, political violence, or nuclear threats, Trump stands between America and catastrophe. Thank you for joining the Raw feed. Keep fighting, keep sharing, keep the faith. We will see you tomorrow night.